We do have area boards. They work from those community areas. They meet about 8 or 9 times a year. It's up to them. It's whether they can afford it in the small budget we give them. They are not talking shops in Wiltshire. They are actually part of our constitutional and executive boards. The local unitary councillors on those boards can make decisions that are binding to the council, as long as they're within the policy and the budget, that is the council policy and the budget that's allotted in that community area. So they do make decisions. They can also make many decisions through the delegated powers to their local council officers, and they are expected to be at those meetings if there's something coming up, and they can make decisions on behalf of that board. So important that they're not talking shops. It's also very important that they're not local government meetings. There's nothing puts anybody off more than coming from a community if it's all agendas and minutes and you know, sort of, I don't know, only 3 minutes, madam, and you can't say anything again, you know, only speak once. We try and make them, first of all, coffee and biscuits to begin with, have a chat with everybody, etc. But then they are totally inclusive. Only time that there has to be a vote. We do encourage our chairman of our area boards to get a view from the whole of the meeting before the actual unitary councillors make a decision, and it is a very brave unitary councillor who will go against the views of the meeting. I've seen it, and I've seen them turn turtle very quickly when they've seen what other people believe. So it is important. It's also very important that we support those community area boards to make sure it's not the usual same old people at those meetings. So we do support the voluntary sector to bring young people, older people, disabled people, you know, any part of the community that wants to come, we encourage them and will support them to come. Many people don't want to go to meetings, so we also have a register that you can sign up to on the web, that you can get all the information of what's happening in your community, what the agendas of the boards, what the decisions are made, what are the issues, etc., etc. We have 20,000 residents plus now signed up to that are getting regular updates. The last time I looked number of people that have gone to area boards is over 10,000 that have actually attended in 18 months. And if you go to any of them, you have between 60 and 160 people at each board, all discussing what's happening in their community. We also have an online issues sheet, so if you've got a problem, you can't get through to your council, they won't dig it away, won't fill your pothole. You can't get anybody to do it, your local member won't do it. We have an issues sheet, so you can go to or log on and put your issue down, and so far we've had over 1,000 issues logged, and well over half of those have been dealt with. This gives instant access to the community to be able to talk to somebody and have something done about their communities. We decided early on that we would put in money that could be given by the boards for community projects. At the moment we put 750,000 in across the 18 area boards, plus some small amounts of grant that individual services put in. And at the moment they have pulled in over £3 million of external funding. And this is the argument I have for not saying cut these things out. And there is a big argument in local government at the moment about why are you spending money on that? You don't need to, it's not a statutory duty. Yes, but it does a much bigger, you get a much bigger payback than ever you invest in it. One of the most important things that we found in Wiltshire is that each community should have very clear, very up-to-date data and good evidence to make, so they can make sound decisions on their priorities. And all our strategic assessments and data is all done over the 18 community areas, individually for each community area. So each of our communities can say, I've got more or less obese children in my community. If it's a big issue, if I'm the worst in the county, why am I the worst? Is my leisure facilities, am I not encouraging sport? Each of our communities therefore knows what are the priorities so they can make sound decisions. And I think it's this good data and the building trust and continual engagement is going to help us in the future to make some very tough decisions. I mean, the planning issues that are coming forward through the localism bill, which is all going to be locally decided, that's going to be a big issue. No longer can councils go and say, oh, well, the government says we've got to build 7,000 houses here. You've got to have a really strong discussion with your community. But you want them, first of all, to trust you, first of all, to see the evidence, then you can have an informed decision and decide on the prioritisation for houses, for jobs lands, how we redesign, how we even go out and prioritise maintenance spending on roads with our communities. Because they know their roads better, they know which ones that are really annoying them, and it's important to listen to them and to act on what they say. So we're moving forward now with our area boards very much to joint development of priorities with good evidence, and then on to the joint pooling of our resources. And I'll talk a bit more about that. But I'll go back to this feeling, you have to build on this. This doesn't happen overnight, you just slowly build on the trust of your communities. Obviously, all our partners are involved in that. All the partners go to the area boards and involved with the area managers, police, health, fire and rescue, the voluntary sector are there, the private sector are there, the schools, the youth. We have buy-in from all our partners to do that. And we've done that through a very strong public sector board and a very strong Wiltshire Assembly in the county. We also have more specific groups that are very supportive and will be in those relevant community areas, such as the military. We have a big military presence, and it's important not to forget those very specific communities in your area. And so we have a military and civilian integration programme, and they are very engaged in the whole community working. As I said, we talked about grant, 750 bringing in 3 million. We don't in Wiltshire intend to take any money out. In fact, we intend to invest in community engagement, community and working. We're intending to put £1 million year on year for the next 4 years. That's in our business plan. We think that is good value for money. We think it is an invest to save. If we don't empower our communities, if we don't start to work with them, if we don't build the capacity and the resilience in them, then we believe that our services will be unsustainable in the old, what I consider is the old-fashioned way of local government. So we will continue to do that. But more than that, we are devolving a lot of stuff down to town and parish councils with budget, because we believe that town and parishes can do some of the smaller things much better locally, much cheaper, and also local people see them doing it, and actually that they appreciate the fact they're doing it. So things like grass cutting, play areas, allotments, things like that, we're pushing as many as we can down to the town and parishes with the budget to run them, and we will continue to do that. We're also looking at community assets, redundant primary schools. We've recently had one that's going in to be the Wiltshire Rural Music School. We've worked with them, so they've now got a much better facility to run their music school from. We're looking at village halls that we still have, car parks, all those sorts of things we're looking to put down as assets to the community. As a large unitary authority, strategic issues and policies should be what we're working with, not small local issues such as I've been talking about. We're also working very hard on devolving budgets to individuals. We totally agree with the government and the last government that where individuals want to have their own amount of money to buy their own packages of care, whether it be from the private sector or from you in the voluntary sector, we will do that as much as, but what we won't do is force people in Wiltshire to do it, and there are some people we have to remember that do not want that. Just a few things that have happened through area boards and the way we work. We've done a lot on community allotments, huge amount, a lot with private landowners on land share, where we've managed to get through community area boards and community areas, private landowners who have given land for allotments. We've encouraged parish councils to find land. We've used a lot of our empty premises for rent-free for the community use in the town of Caen. We've used an empty shop where the community now runs all its community clubs from. It is open quite a few on the busiest days in the town, so people can go in and see what's happening in the community. They can log on any issues in their community. We've supported through area working village shops to keep them open, supported communities to run those shops, given them a little bit of capital that helps them start that. We've got some interesting work with Community Speed Watch. I expect if all of you come from rural areas, village speed of cars in villages is always top priority. So we've started with the police, working through community areas, a voluntary speed watch where the local people are trained to actually keep an eye on the level of speed, and if people are clocked more than 2 or 3 times, then the police will go in heavy. We've done small things like cycle stands for people that want to cycle to work and have got nowhere to leave their cars. We've done a lot of work in the city of Salisbury with disabled young people who didn't feel they had enough to do in the evenings, and certainly if they had care workers they weren't allowed out till 2 in the morning. We've allowed them to do that and allowed them to be like ordinary young people who want to club up right late through the night. An interesting one was a school, that for many, many years, one secondary school in one of our market towns, for years had been working with the transport department about safety outside the school. When the area board started about a year ago, the head boy and head girl came and said, can you help us? We worked with that head boy and girl. They agreed through the school, did all the consultation with the school, with the teachers, with the parents, and now they have a one-way system past the school. They've been struggling with that issue with the community for at least 15 years that I know. But through area working, through close and trust in the council, and through local people working together, we've managed to solve that issue. So many other things. The NHS and us are working in each community area with health fairs. Again, good partnership working together, making sure that everybody's blood pressure in our market towns is of a level that's safe, and if it isn't, pushing them on to the doctor. But these are all just a start, aren't they? And the individual things are great, but what the big issue for me is how we change the culture of local government, working with the other public sectors, working with you, the voluntary community, to make that real step change that I think we do. I think we've got to think resident and only resident, not process, not policy, not statutory duty. Think resident, and in doing that we've got to think differently. And I think together we've got to be supporting, enabling and leading all our communities. And that way I think they'll become stronger, they'll become more resilient, and most importantly I think it'll help them to help themselves. Thank you very much for listening to me.